Hello students, welcome to this video Fraction Supernode Part 2. Now we're going on to section C, finding common denominators, or in this case, in this question, finding common multiples. If we know how to find common multiples, then it's really going to help us when we find common denominators. So let's look at example 1. Lowest common multiple, LCM stands for lowest common multiple of 3 and 7. So this is how you set up this type of question. So we're going to write the first number here, 3, and then we're going to write 7 down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to generate two different lists. The first list is multiples of 3, and then the second list is multiples of 7. So in order to find multiples, we just multiply the number by numbers in ascending order. So the first multiple of 3 is 3, because it's 3 times 1 is 3. When we go 3 times 2, we get 6. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to continue this list until you get to 3 times 10, which is 30. So try to stay ahead of me. All right, so I've generated my multiples list for the number 3. I've gone all the way to 30 because 3 times 10 is 30. I'm just going to have that number in my head of whatever times 10. I might sometimes have to go further than that, but I'm just going to stop at 10. So let's generate a list of multiples of 7, starting with 7 times 1, which is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. And I'd like you to continue this list up to 70, 7 times 10. All right, so I've completed my list for the multiples of 7. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56, 63, and 70. All right, so now let's look at this word in here, common. So common means I'm looking for numbers that appear in both the top list and the bottom list. And L stands for lowest, so I'm looking for the first number that appears in both lists. So if I use just a different pen, so I'm going to compare the number in the top row with the number in the bottom row. So 3 doesn't exist in the bottom row, so I'll just cancel that one. 6 doesn't exist in the bottom row. 9 is not common to the bottom row. 12 is not common. 15 does not exist in the bottom row. 18 does not appear in the bottom row. 21. So let's look at 21 and 21. So 21 and 21. 21 appears in both lists. And because it's the first number that appears in both lists, that is the lowest common multiple. So don't forget our conclusion statement over here. Therefore, lowest common multiple equals 21. So it's pretty simple. It just requires a little bit of work. All right, let's go on to example 2. LCM, lowest common multiple of 5 and 9. All right, so let's generate a list of multiples of both 5 and 9, starting with 5 times 1, which is 5. All right, I'm going to go all the way up to 50. 5 times 10, which is 50. Now I'm going to generate my list of multiples for 9, starting with 9 times 1. All right, I've generated my list of factors of 9, all the way up to 90, 9 times 10. So now's the fun part. I scan both lists and I look for the first common number in both lists. All right, 5 does not appear in the bottom list. 10 does not appear. 15 is not common. 20 is not common. So I found a number that appears in both lists, 45 and 45. So you see how 45 appears very late in the list in terms of my multiples of 5. So again, if I don't find a number, I might have to continue my list either in the top row or the bottom row. In this case, I've got 45 in both lists. So don't forget your conclusion statement. Therefore, lowest common multiple equals 45. Okay, so if you think you've got it, then you can just continue along. And what I'll do is I'll post the answers for number 3 and 4, but I'll do it silently so that you can just have your head down and work on your questions. But if you run into any problems, you can look up at the video. Okay, so let's go on to example 3. So let's set up our two lists here. All right, I was able to come up with an answer for number 3. Lowest common multiple is 8. And an answer for number 4. Lowest common multiple of 12. So this concludes this part of the video, Fractions Supernote Part 2. Thanks for watching. Bye.